Hello everyone and welcome back to another TSW suggestion video. Today we're going to be talking about Metro Trains Melbourne. If you enjoyed this video and agree with the suggestion, like the video and the DTG forum suggestion, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Metro Trains Melbourne, locally known as Metro, is a commuter rail system serving the city of Melbourne in Australia. A fun fact about it is that its three parent companies, the MTR Corporation, John Holland Group, and UGL Rail, are also the parent companies for the company that operates the Sydney Metro. Metro Trains Melbourne runs 17 lines over 998 kilometers of track. Now obviously this would be an impossible task for DTG to take on, so we'll only be suggesting a couple of lines that could all come as one route in the video. I may end up making some more videos for other lines in the future if this suggestion does well, so make sure to hit the like button if you want to see this in the game. The lines that I will be talking about today are the Frankston, Werribee, and Williamstown lines, which are all a part of the Cross City Group. The Frankston Line runs between the Flinders Street Station in Melbourne City Centre or Central Business District to Frankston in the suburbs near the Frankston Beach and a shopping centre. The line runs for a total of 43 kilometers and has 28 stations, although some trains run for longer distances as they run through Flinders Street along the other two lines, part of the Cross City Group, the Werribee and Williamstown lines, to their respective termini. The Frankston Line has a very interesting section of track between Flinders Street and Caulfield, where it runs alongside the Cranbourne and Pakenham lines, part of the Caulfield Group, and the V-Line regional rail system. Through this section, there are 4 tracks. Trains part of the Caulfield Group and V-Line trains run express, bypassing 4 stations in this section. These 4 stations being Hawksburn, Toorak, Armadale, and Malvern. Some Frankston Line trains also run express through this section of track. However, I'll talk more about that when I talk about the services for this line. The Sandringham Line also runs along the Frankston Line, albeit it is for only 3 stations between Flinders Street and South Yarra. The Caulfield Group and Sandringham lines can be added in as extra services or AI services to liven up the route and make it feel busier, especially since those lines use the same rolling stock as the Cross City Group does. The V-Line, however, uses other types of rolling stock that you wouldn't find operating on these lines, so maybe that could be added in if a V-Line route is created, or DTG could substitute those services in with the Metro Trains Melbourne rolling stock. Technically, the terminus of the Frankston Line is further to the east at the Stony Point station. However, the line past Frankston is unelectrified, requiring diesel trains to provide service to the line. The line adds another 10 stations and 32 kilometers onto the Frankston Line. Now, I doubt that this branch will be added in if the route is created for TSW, but I still felt like it was worth it to mention it in the video. This would add another train onto this route with the Sprinter units leased from V-Line. The Frankston Line has a unique service pattern, with it running on an express and local timetable. During the rush hour, some trains will run express in the peak direction. This is similar to some metro systems, such as the New York City Subway, which runs a similar peak direction express service pattern on some lines. The Werribee Line runs between Werribee and Flinders Street. However, some trains travel past Flinders Street and run along the Frankston Line to its terminal. The line runs for 33 kilometers and has 17 stations. The Werribee Line, similarly to the Frankston Line, runs with the Sunbury Line and V-Line to Footscray, and the Williamstown Line to Newport. Just like the Frankston Line, the Werribee Line has an express and local service pattern. Express trains stop at 10 stations along the line. After Newport, the express tracks branch off of the local tracks and travel directly to Laverton, while the local tracks stop at Westona, Altona, and Seaholme. I assume the tracks are set up this way to prevent local trains from slowing down faster express trains. And finally, the Williamstown Line runs between Flinders Street and Williamstown. It runs for a total of 16 kilometers and it has 12 stations. Unlike the Frankston and Werribee lines, the Williamstown line does not have express services. They generally stop at all stations along the line. It does run some shuttle services from Williamstown to Newport, however, stopping only at 4 stations, with those 4 stations being Williamstown, Williamstown Beach, North Williamstown, and Newport. Depending on the time period DTG wants to set the route in, the 3 lines would see some services running through the Melbourne City Loop, adding 3 more stations onto the route, with those stations being Flagstaff, Melbourne Central, and Parliament. These 3 lines are very interesting and unique lines, with some nice service patterns encasing express and local services. The 3 lines that the route would focus on would already have a busy timetable during peak times, and the AI services will only make the route feel even busier, increasing the immersion. This would definitely fit the rush hour theme, which I assume DTG will be focusing on even after the full release of TSW Rush Hour. It would be a very nice thing to experience, and I'm sure a lot of players would enjoy this DLC. Now this route would have a large variety of rolling stock that players would see operating along the route. We have the Comeng, Siemens Nexus, and Extropolis for the main playable lines, with the HCMT, Velocity, and Sprinter being present on the other lines I mentioned. The trains on this network are usually formed of 2 units that are coupled together to make a 6-car train. However, some services on the Williamstown line run 3-car trains. The Comeng is the oldest train on the network, being constructed in 1981. They would be seen on the Frankston, Werribee, and Williamstown lines. They would also be seen on the Sandringham line as AI services and the Pakenham and Cranbourne lines on the shorter services. The Siemens Nexus, a newer train than the Comeng, being first constructed in 2002, would be seen on the Frankston, Werribee, Williamstown, Sandringham, Pakenham, and Cranbourne lines. The Extropolis 100, one of the newer trains on the system, being built between the early 2000s and 2019, would be seen on the Frankston, Werribee, and Williamstown lines. The HCMTs, the newest trains in the metro system, being built in 2019, would run on the Pakenham and Cranbourne lines. The Velocity would be seen on the V-Line services. They are diesel-powered trains, and they fit the commuter rail style more than the other trains that would appear on this route. V-Line also runs other types of trains, mostly locomotive pulled, however, I don't think that they would be too important to this suggestion. And finally, the Sprinter. Not to be confused with the UK Sprinters, but these Sprinters, being built in the 90s, would be the oldest trains on this route, or at least one of them. Now I don't think that all of these trains could be created for the route all at once, and if they were all created, some would probably appear in the form of local DLCs. I do think that most of these trains are very interesting, and it would be nice to see a large variety of rolling stock. This would be a great route to see in TSW. It would finally bring the game to Australia and showing off one of the best rail systems on the continent. If you want to see TSW come to Australia with this route, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. Peace.